Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm at the Palm Beach International Airport and I'm flying up to LaGuardia and you're coming along with me. This is a video about flight 1708. Sound familiar? Well, I took it in a recent video on a SkyTeam 737 and I was disappointed. I sat on the right side of the plane with hopes of flying up the Hudson River to land on runway 22. It didn't happen. We flew east of the airport and I didn't get the view I wanted, so I'm doing it all over again today. Again, I chose a seat on the right side of the airplane because the wind calls for us to land on runway 22. More on that in a moment. Currently, my flight is en route to PBI from LaGuardia, and I can't wait to take it right back to LaGuardia. Okay, I'm ready to head through TSA. Are you ready to come with me to the airside? Let's go. And here comes the plane right now. I'm always excited to see it land before I get on it. Okay, Delta 1708 just landed and it's about to pull into the gate right behind me. Okay, that's Delta 1708 behind me, and I'm taking it right back up to LaGuardia. My seat today is on the right-hand side of the aircraft. I'm anticipating landing on runway 22. I think that it's going to be right-hand traffic to runway 22, with runway 13 being the departure runway, but it may be left-hand traffic because the wind is kind of variable at that particular time. We'll see what happens. Seat selection is the most important aspect of flying for me, and I choose seats based upon the best anticipated view. Of course, nothing is set in stone until we get there, but I'm pretty sure runway 10 left will be our departure runway since we'll be leaving soon. This Delta plane is headed out towards runway 10 left and a small plane is landing on it. The wind is steady and suits this runway today. Okay, we should be boarding pretty soon. My flight is experiencing a 10-minute delay, not very much. I'm assuming it's due to a ground delay program to LaGuardia, but 10 minutes isn't really going to have a big impact. Ground delays are pretty common to LaGuardia. The volume is high, but 10 minutes is hardly any delay. It's boarding time, so let's head on over to LGA. This is always an exciting moment, the moment when you leave the jet bridge and board the plane. Today, we're on a good old 737-800, and my seat is in the back of the plane today. And I'm on the right side of the plane for the exact reason why I was on the right side of the plane in my last Delta 1708 video. The wind at the time of landing at LaGuardia will favor runway 22 with an almost direct headwind for landing. With runway 1331 at a 90-degree angle to runway 22, departures will have a nearly 90-degree crosswind component for landing, but it looks like runway 13 would get more of a headwind for departing flights as opposed to runway 31, so I'm basically betting that runway 22 will be the landing runway and runway 13 will be the departure runway, meaning that arrivals to LaGuardia on vectors from the southwest can expect to pass to the west of LaGuardia on a right downwind leg, clearing the airspace to the east of LaGuardia for runway 13 departures. This typically means flying northbound on the Hudson at 4,000 feet, leaving passengers on the right side of the plane with a spectacular Manhattan view. This is the exact scenario I was in when I last flew on flight 1708, and it's time to do it all over again and hope. Just like the last time I was on flight 1708, once we're done with the pushback procedure, we're ready to move under our own power and contact ground control for taxi instructions to runway 10 left.
Delta 1708, ready to taxi to Tango.
Delta 1708, Palm Beach ground, runway 10 left, taxi via Charlie 7 Charlie, cross runway 14.
Charlie 7, Charlie, cross 14 for runway 10 left, Delta 1708.
Unlike the last time, this time we're told to taxi out right to the runway without stopping. We had to come to a pause along the route the last time around, but this time we're told to cross runway 14 right away and taxi on down to the runway. It's always a nice sign when you know that you're going to get a quick taxi to the runway. Now, my suspicions about the 10-minute departure delay were confirmed when the pilot came back and asked about our release time. We had a 3 p.m. scheduled departure time, but the flight was delayed to 3:10, and the pilot now wants to confirm our release time of 3:37, a time that was assigned to us, even though no one from Delta mentioned anything about this delay.
And ground Delta 1708, are you still showing a wheels up at 1937 for us?
Affirmative. You can expect a release of 3-2.
Excellent, thanks, appreciate it.
Well, the good news is that our release time for Wheels Up was moved up to 3:30. That's 30 minutes past the time we were supposed to leave the gate and 20 minutes past our delayed departure time. In all, it's good news. Now, listen to this plane that's ready to taxi. It's Bahamas Air headed to March Harbor.
Ground Bahamas 282 at the Alpha Gate with Tango, like the taxi active.
Bahamas 282, Palm Beach ground runway 10 left, taxi via Alpha, cross runway 14.
That's 10 left via Alpha, Bahamas 282.
Bahamas 282, cross runway 14.
Cross 14, Bahamas 282.
Like us, Bahamas Air got clearance right to the departure runway and to cross runway 14 like us, but the controller is now going to give us our first instruction to wait.
Delta 1708, at the end, hold short of Alpha, tower hold for you.
Alright, at the end, hold short of Alpha, Delta 1708, thanks.
This means that Bahamas Air will take off in front of us despite leaving the ramp after us. There are no delay programs to March Harbor today, so the tower is going to get this plane right out. The Bahamas Air was switched right away to the tower control frequency and asked if he's ready, and he's given takeoff clearance in front of us on runway 10 left.
Bahamas 282, tower, you up and ready?
Ready to go, Bahamas 282, holding short, Alpha 1.
Bahamas 282, roger, traffic 3 miles for the crossing runway, it's Cherokee, fly heading 120, runway 10 left, clear for takeoff.
10 left, clear for takeoff, 120, Bahamas 282.
The controller then talks to a flight school using runway 14.
Fast flight 428, the wind's 110 at 11, runway 14, clear for touch and go.
Clear for touch and go for 14, Skyflight 428.
This flight is of interest to us as I can see it on approach to runway 14. We're now on the tower frequency. Our release time is approaching, and the tower has us line up and wait.
Delta 1708, Palm Beach Tower, runway 10 left, line up and wait. Traffic is touching down on the crossing runway. Traffic your runway about 15 miles out. Alright, 10 left, wait, Delta 1708.
The controller advised us of the plane on the crossing runway and that there's a plane on approach 15 miles out to our runway. That's plenty of room. Let's listen into the controller talk to other pilots, including another small plane that wants to take off and the airplane that needs to land on our runway after we take off.
And tower, Tomahawk 3.
Tomahawk 3, tower.
Yes, ma'am. Tomahawk ramp like to depart to the east, right close traffic.
Tomahawk 3, traffic is performing a touch and go on runway 14. Are you able to remain west of 14?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, roger, remain west of runway 14 for Cherokee traffic. The winds are 12013, the right close traffic route.
Do you have altimeter setting?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Altimeter 2986.
82.
Tower, Delta 354, visual runway 10 right, 10 left. Delta 354, Palm Beach Tower, continue runway 10 left, traffic in position. Continue 10 left, exit 354.
The plane that we saw approaching runway 14 did a touch and go and is heading back to where it came from, Vero Beach. And here's the next transmission to get that plane up to the north.
Skyflight 428, are you going back to Vero?
Affirm. Skyflight 428.
Hey, roger. When you're able, turn left heading 030 and maintain out or below 1,500. Traffic in position on 10 left, awaits your northeastern.
Left turn 030, maintain out or below 1,500, Skyflight 428.
We're all set to take off now, and we're just waiting for the controller to issue takeoff clearance. Here it comes.
Delta 1708, runway 10 left, clear for takeoff. 10 left, clear for takeoff, Delta 1708.
Now that we're in the air, the tower controller hands us off to the TRACON, or departure controller.
Delta 1708, contact departure, good day.
Departure Delta 1708, good day.
We'll check in with the departure controller now, indicating that we're on the slides 2, the published departure procedure for this runway.
Departure, good afternoon, Delta 1708, coming through 1,800 via the slides 2.
Delta 1708, Palm Beach departure, good afternoon, radar contact.
As we climb, we take in the beautiful views of the northern end of the South Florida region as we proceed out over the Barrier Island. Air traffic control issues us no commands as we follow the slides to departure, which will soon call for a gentle left-hand turn, which helps point us toward the north to the en route phase of flight to get to New York City. As we leave this controller's airspace, we're handed off to the Miami Air Route Traffic Control Center.
Delta 1708, contact Miami Center 132.15, good day.
3215, Delta 1708, yeah.
We're headed north, and I'm taking in the views like this ship below us and this JetBlue A320 descending into Fort Lauderdale. Despite it being dark in the cabin with so many passengers lowering their window shades, I let the light shine in because the water down below is just gorgeous. We're north of the islands of the Bahamas, and the very shallow water is allowing for some stunning scenery. This map on the seat back shows our progress. We're over the water, but we'll soon be over the land. And we're not alone up here. Here's a Delta 737 flying from JFK to Fort Myers, and here's a Delta A321 from Boston to Orlando. We're now making landfall. We're looking at Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, and the Masonboro Inlet. It's a great day for flying up here, but I'm really looking forward to the approach to LaGuardia. This flight is my second recent attempt to justify my seat selection on the right side. Will we fly up the Hudson before turning to runway 22? Well, we've descended, so let's check in with New York Approach Control.
Approach, good afternoon, Delta 1708, descending through 14-1 via the Proud 2 at Bravo.
Delta 1708, New York approach, altimeter 2947.
47, Delta 1708.
We're on the Proud arrival. That's the new standard arrival procedure from the south. As usual, and just like the last time I was on Flight 1708, this points us right toward Brooklyn as we descend along the arrival. And as we descend, the controller has a speed restriction for us once we reach 10,000 feet.
Delta 1708 at 10,000, reduce speed to 250.
A little further on, we're told to descend to 7,000 feet.
Delta 1708, descend and maintain 7,000.
Down at 7,000, Delta 1708.
Now, for those first few transmissions that you heard, everything was sped up, but from this moment moving forward, you're going to hear transmissions in real time. We're listening into other flights, like this United flight.
Approach, good afternoon, United 2133, we got Alpha, sending out of 12,000 for 10,000 at Beauty, ILS 22.
United 2133, New York approach, altimeter 2947, maintain 300 knots or greater, and Bravo is current at LaGuardia.
We'll get Bravo 2947, 300 knots or greater, United 2133.
Well, that confirms that we'll be landing on runway 22 today. He mentioned it in the transmission, but will we turn right or left to get there? I'm not sure yet, but the controller has some traffic to point out to us.
Delta 1708, traffic 11 o'clock and 7 miles southbound, 6,000 Airbus.
Looking Delta 1708.
Newark departures generally climb under us, and that's probably what the controller is pointing out to us at 6,000 feet. Now, listening to this cluster of transmissions, paying close attention to American 1916 and Brickyard 4660.
American 1916, proceed direct LaGuardia.
Direct LaGuardia, American 1916.
Brickyard 4660, turn right heading 070, contact approach 134.9.
070 on the heading, 34.9 per approach, Brickyard 4660.
That was disappointing to hear. As you know, I sat on the right side of the plane expecting right traffic to runway 22, but American was told to proceed directly to LaGuardia. That flight is up ahead, and flying to LaGuardia means that the airplane is placed over Brooklyn and Queens toward the airport to set up for, get this, left traffic to runway 22. This is further confirmed by the fact that Brickyard was issued a turn to 70 degrees. Brickyard is close to the airport and is being set up to fly to the east of LaGuardia to prepare for the left traffic pattern. This means that runway 31 is the departure runway and we can't fly near Manhattan. Manhattan will be on the left side of the plane. This entire redo of Flight 1708 to LaGuardia is a failure. It's time for the controller to tell us to proceed direct to LaGuardia now.
Delta 1708, proceed direct LaGuardia, descend and maintain 4,000, traffic's no factor.
Alright, 4,000 direct to LaGuardia, Delta 1708.
Can you guess what the next transmission to us will be? Well, just like that Brickyard plane ahead, we'll be told to fly a 70-degree heading once we're over the land. So we're over Sandy Hook Bay and the nose is being pointed right at LaGuardia Airport, specifically at the LaGuardia VOR, which is located next to the runway 22 pier. Basically, everyone coming in toward LaGuardia from the south is going to head to the airport, then turn right to the 70-degree heading. Up ahead is another plane, Delta 1118, which is about to do just that.
Delta 1118, turn right heading 070, contact approach 134.9er.
070-349, Delta 1118.
We also heard that the controller switched this aircraft over to another frequency. Once we get to that point, we'll also be told to switch to another frequency. There are so many aircraft that are coming into LaGuardia right now that approach control is being divided into two sectors. We're in the first sector now, and the second sector will bring us around the airport and back to land on runway 22 via left traffic. Yeah, I didn't want left traffic, but I got it. So this video is very similar to the video I put out on July 6, 2024, where I flew the same approach from the same side of the airplane, but despite the similarities, each flight is different, and even though we will be making left traffic to runway 22, we will not be turning our left base leg at the exact same point of the July 6th flight. That's why I focus so heavily on ATC and air traffic, because we're in a situation where the traffic volume determines how far out we go before turning back around to land on runway 22. For now, however, as it was the last time, we're at 4,000 feet with the nose pointed to LaGuardia, and we're in a corridor of airspace between Newark and JFK. On the right side, we can see Brooklyn, and passengers on the left side of the plane in a moment will get the Manhattan view that I wanted. As a matter of fact, the captain of this flight came onto the PA system to tell everyone that Manhattan will be on the left side of the airplane. I guess they're familiar with this approach. Runway 22 is the landing runway, and runway 31 is the departure runway. I did everything I could do to prevent the situation I'm in, but as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the winds that I saw at the time of my arrival favored runway 13 as the departure runway due to a very slight headwind angle. But I guess you just can't predict that easily when the wind is nearly headed straight down a runway. So before we start that right turn to 70 degrees, why not take in the view that we have here? In the foreground is Brooklyn, and in the distance is Queens and Nassau. What a dense metropolis this is, but I'm all about situational awareness, and I'm looking to see if I can see any JFK flights since JFK Airport is under the wing. Let's see, there's got to be something out there. After all, we are in some of the busiest airspace in the world. There we go. This airplane is heading from JFK to the south after takeoff, so it stays away from flights like us headed to the north to LaGuardia. I love how this airspace is so well divided. All right, I know where we are and what's about to happen. We're just south of LaGuardia, and it's time to get that right-hand turn to 70 degrees so that we can pass around LaGuardia Airport to get to the left downwind leg for runway 22. This command from approach control generally comes around this point, so let's listen into that turn instruction.
Delta 1708, turn right heading 070, contact approach 134.9er.
070-349, Delta 1708, see you.
Okay, we're in that turn to 70 degrees to the east, and we're going to check in with the second approach controller, who will bring us around to the airport so that we can land on runway 22.
Approach Delta 1708, 4000, 070 heading.
Delta 1708, New York approach, reduce speed to 180.
For the 180 knots, Delta 1708.
We're told to reduce our speed to 180 knots. Let's listen to some other transmissions on this frequency.
American 1916, turn left heading 050, reduce speed to 180.
050, slow down to 180, American 1916. Approach Airfit 686, 4000, about to join 22 localizer after hard.
Okay, 5686, New York approach, roger. Endeavor 5550, maintain 180 knots until Greco, contact LaGuardia Tower, 118.7.
Zephyr Endeavor 5450, 180 to Greco, and then Tower 18.7.
Affirm, have a good day.
See ya.
Brickyard 5686, reduce speed to 210.
210 knots, 686.
Brickyard 4660, turn left heading 250, 6 miles from Greco, maintain 3000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 22 approach.
250, 3000 until established, clear for the approach, Brickyard 4660.
Not only is she sequencing planes into a left traffic pattern to runway 22, she's also handling planes coming straight in from the north between arrivals being turned to the left to join the final approach course. She's really busy, and I'm enjoying the view of JFK. By the way, from time to time, I'll be zooming the camera in to see arrivals to runway 22 left at JFK to show how we won't interfere with JFK arrivals airspace to the north of JFK. We'll eventually make a left-hand turn to the northeast to steer clear of JFK arrivals and fly in the opposite direction that they're going in. The point at which we're told to turn to the left to a 40-degree heading depends on how many planes there are ahead of us. And there are a lot. There are so many planes that we'll be on this 70-degree heading a little bit longer than usual, which serves to widen everything out. The last time I took flight 1708, we made the left turn a lot earlier. There just wasn't that much traffic as there is now. So, up to this point, this flight has been eerily similar to the last time I was on flight 1708, but things are changing. That's what makes each flight different. Demand for runway 22 is high, and even though LaGuardia Airport is just off our left side, we won't be touching down for another 9 minutes. But we're getting closer, and the controller sees that now is a good time for us to start the left downwind leg.
Delta 1708, turn left heading 040.
Left 040, heading Delta 1708.
Delta 1118, turn left heading 250, intercept the localizer.
Heading 215, turn the localizer, ILS 22 Delta 1118.
We're told to fly a heading of 40 degrees, which is the opposite direction of landing. It's also the opposite direction of all the planes coming into runway 22 left at JFK, which has the same direction of our landing runway, runway 22 at LaGuardia. So we're surrounded on both our left and right sides by planes flying in the opposite direction, landing at LaGuardia and JFK respectively. As we proceed along, we're looking at Nassau County and are following the irregularly shaped north shoreline and its inlets. Let's listen into some of the hard work of this controller.
American 1916, turn left heading 360.
360, American 1916.
American 1916, descend and maintain 3000.
3000, American 1916.
Delta 1118, 6 miles from Greco, maintain 3000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 22 approach, maintain 180 knots until Greco.
3000 until established, cleared ILS 22, 180 until Greco, Delta 1118.
Gate 5686, reduce speed to 170.
170 knots, that's
American 1916, turn left heading 310.
310, American 1916.
Delta 1118, contact LaGuardia Tower, 118.7.
18.7, have a good day, Delta 1118.
You can hear how she's vectoring planes to the left and clearing them for the approach to runway 22. The headings that she assigns may not necessarily be the same headings that she'll assign to all aircraft. It just depends on where they are and how everyone will fit in. We're flying over Manhasset Bay, and the bay after it is Hempstead Bay. Oh, and the controller herself is working in a radar room in the distance out there in Nassau County. It's called the New York Tracon. It's too hard to find from where we are, but JFK arrivals to runway 22 left generally fly right past it. The last time I took flight 1708, we turned around this point, and our starting point for the turn was further west as traffic was light, but as you heard, there are planes ahead of us, so we have to keep going further out until we're told to start the left base leg. In the following transmissions, the controller is talking to aircraft both ahead of and behind us.
American 1916, 5 miles from Greco, maintain 2000 now until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 22 approach.
2000 to establish, cleared ILS 22 approach, American 1916.
Gate 5686, reduce speed to 160, then descend and maintain 3000.
160, 3000, that's 660.
Secured 4434 to head up for 4000.
Secured 4430, near approach, roger. American 1916, contact LaGuardia Tower, 118.7.
18.7, American 1916.
Secured 5686, 2 miles from Yeoman, cross Yeoman at or above 3000, cleared ILS, runway 22 approach, maintain 160 knots until Greco.
160, Greco 3000, to Yeoman, clears ILS 22, 660.
We've come pretty far, and in the distance we can begin to see Oyster Bay at the end of Nassau County. It's now time for the left base.
Delta 1708, turn left heading 300, descend and maintain 3000.
Left turn 300 and down to 3000, Delta 1708.
We're also told to descend to 3,000 feet, and the controller actually has us turn even further right now.
Delta 1708, you can make the turn, left turn heading 270.
Alright, left turn 270, Delta 1708.
The 270-degree heading is west and allows us to cross Long Island Sound from the Long Island side to the Westchester County side. Coming into view on the left side of the screen is the mainland USA, and we'll be making landfall on the Westchester side around Rye, New York. The airport is off to our left, but at a bit of a distance since we've come so far out today. If we had turned earlier, we would have been lined up with the runway by now. Of course, I would have preferred a seat on the left-hand side for this turn, but I'm excited to get some good views of the southeastern shore towns of Westchester County. Very shortly, we'll be lined up with runway 22. But first, we're given a slight adjustment to our heading.
Delta 1708, turn left heading 260.
Left turn 260, Delta 1708.
Down there we can see Playland in Rye, New York. It's an amusement park that dates back to 1928. We can also see the many residences of Rye, and beyond that, the rest of Westchester County, which continues along to the Hudson River. That's the river that I wanted to fly northbound on today for that Manhattan view. That didn't happen. Just south of Rye, New York is Mamaroneck. Within the town of Mamaroneck are the villages of Mamaroneck and Larchmont. Yes, planes fly right over them as they get ready to land on runway 22. In a moment, we'll see Mamaroneck Harbor as the controller clears us for the approach 5 miles from a point on the ILS runway 22 system called Greco. We'll get a 250-degree intercept heading and can head on down to 2,000 feet. It's now time to be cleared for the approach to runway 22.
Delta 1708, 5 miles from Greco, fly heading 250, maintain 2000 until established and localize a cleared ILS runway 22 approach.
250 on the heading, 2000 till established, cleared for the ILS 22 approach, Delta 1708.
Delta 1708, maintain 170 knots until Greco.
170 Greco, Delta 1708.
We're also given a speed restriction of 170 knots until Greco, which we're approaching. Once we intercept the final approach course, we'll turn on our own to line up the runway so we can land. We've got plenty of time to line up today, and it's now time for the approach controller on Long Island to hand us over to the controller in the control tower at LaGuardia Airport.
Delta 1708, contact LaGuardia Tower, 118.7.
Tower Delta 1708 PM.
In a moment, we'll check in with the tower cab at the airport. We're approaching the downtown part of the city of New Rochelle, New York, just north of the Bronx. I'm looking forward to seeing the city's skyscrapers in a moment as we check in with the control tower. It's the only city skyline I'll get to see with my seat selection on this side of the plane. Let's check in with LaGuardia Tower.
Tower Delta 1708 on the ILS 22.
1708 LaGuardia Tower, runway 22, wind 060 at 3, clear to land, number 3, following E175, 3 miles ahead, traffic holds on departure, runway 31.
22, clear to land, Delta 1708.
Wow, did you catch that? The tower said that the wind was 060 at 3. That's a tailwind. That is not what I was expecting at all, as the forecast showed that the wind should be coming from the south at the time of landing. But with 3 knots being so light, I guess the wind became variable at this time, and a tailwind of 3 knots should not have much of a negative effect on this flight. With a heading of 60 degrees, this would be an ideal configuration for landing on runway 4 and departing on runway 13, but there's probably no need for a runway change with the velocity of the wind being so light. Overall, it wasn't an easy task to select the best seats this time, and just like last time, I did not pick the best side for the best views. In any case, the tower also informed us that we're clear to land on runway 22 behind an Embraer 175 3 miles ahead, and that traffic will hold and depart on runway 31 for situational awareness. The tower can issue takeoff clearance to aircraft on runway 31, providing that no one is on final approach to runway 22, since runway 22 intersects with runway 31, and by the time runway 31 departures reach the intersection of runway 22, they're just about airborne or about to become airborne, so it really isn't good practice to issue takeoff clearance to anybody on runway 31 when traffic for runway 22 is inside of a 2-mile final. It's just too close. Once a plane lands on runway 22, or just before a runway 22 arrival reaches the intersection of runway 31, takeoff clearance to a departure should be issued. We're now passing by the intersection of Interstate 95 at Pelham Parkway in the Bronx. The runway is right ahead of us, and the previous arrival has not yet landed. We're actually kind of close to that plane, so once it lands, the tower will not issue takeoff clearance to an airplane before we land. That plane is going into position now on runway 31.
Hey, Spirit 3154, that RJ is moving now. Need for runway 31, line up away, traffic line 22. Line up and away, 31, Boeing 3154.
That Spirit flight will be issued takeoff clearance as we touch down. The plane behind us is about to check in with the tower now.
Karen 2430, ILS 22.
Recard 4430, LaGuardia Tower, runway 22, wind 070 at 3, clear to land, traffic holds departure, runway 31, your number 2, following 73, bring 3/4 miles ahead.
Well, 22, breaking 4530.
We're 3 3/4 miles ahead of the plane behind us, which will allow for that Spirit plane to take off once we land. The previous departing flight is airborne and is now going to be handed off to departure control.
Recard 4803, contact departure, CF.
Departure, Brickyard 4803, CF.
Now the plane in front of us has landed, and the controller is going to ask it to clear the runway quickly so that we can land.
Brickyard 5686. Keep moving down the runway to make the left turn onto Charlie Yankee. Charlie Yankee. Brickyard 5686, Roger. Charlie Yankee, join Bravo behind the American, contact ground point 7, traffic at 7 miles. Charlie Yankee, Bravo, ground point set, Brickyard 5686.
Okay, that plane needs to get off the runway because we're close to landing. If not, we'll have to go around. We're over the East River on short final now, and the controller is monitoring us as well as that Spirit airplane that's in position and ready to take off. The controller is waiting for us to nearly touch down so he can get that Spirit plane out quickly because there's a plane on a 3-mile final behind us to runway 22. The intersection of runway 422 and runway 1331 is the most critical part of the entire airport, and everything needs to be coordinated perfectly. It's now time for Spirit to be issued takeoff clearance.
Spirit wing 3154, runway 31, wind 003, clear for takeoff, traffic 3 mile final on 22.
Go for takeoff 31 is Spirit 3154.
5156 Board Tower, runway 31, line of wake, traffic lanes 822.
Line of wake 31 to go 5156. Tower United 2133, ILS 22.
Night 1133 LaGuardia Tower, runway 22, wind 080 S3, cleared land, traffic holds in approach runway 31, your number 2 following a E175, 3.5 miles out.
Clear to land, runway 22, United 2133.
It's now time for the tower to tell us to clear the active runways so that the next plane can land.
Delta 1708 left on Yankee Bravo, contact ground point 72.
Yankee Bravo, ground point 7, Delta 1792.
We're here. I didn't get that Manhattan view, but I really enjoyed the flight and being fit into the traffic to LaGuardia between JFK and Newark. This is always exciting, and no matter how many times I do it, it just never gets old, and there's always something new that can happen. Even our taxi in wasn't standard. An airplane blocked our ramp, so rather than taking a direct route in, we had to go past the ramp and circle back to let that plane out before we could get in, bringing this 737 flight to a close. Okay, I'm happy to be back here at LaGuardia. Okay, we're arriving now at Terminal C here at LaGuardia Airport. It is fantastic. I love it. That plane is going over to Tampa. So this part of the terminal is just being refurbished instead of being rebuilt. It's got this old structure, but a brand new look. Very interesting. Those skylights above me are very, very familiar. All right, well, I'm outdoors. It is just as hot here in New York City as it was in Palm Beach. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this flight. I had a great time, and I hope you did too. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, I invite you to click on the subscribe button, hit the bell button, hit the like button, and I'll be back again very soon with more videos like this. Thanks, everybody.